Hello everyone, Smith is with you, and today I will show you 5 common beginner mistakes that I personally noticed in the chat. Well, that is, there is a chat on the Blender, where beginners ask questions, and these are their most common questions. Well, if I had the answers to these questions at the very beginning, when I studied the Blender, then I would say thank you to the one who taught me this. And this video will be divided into 2 parts. Now you are watching the first one, then the second one will be released a little later, because in general, there were already 10 minutes of videos, and I showed only half and did not want to delay for 20 minutes. That is why there will be 2 parts of plus or minus 10 minutes. Well, we'll start the videos with mer. This is a common modifier that simply reflects. Let's say we want to make the letter O out of this, get the result so that this part is reflected and the letter O with a cutout in the center is obtained. We put the world on it and it turns out not what we wanted. It turns out that some kind of letter AI will also be, if we put the world on this object, we get the result the way we want. It's all because of this little orange dot. It's called beer point facility. This one, if you look at it, has a beer point in the middle. At the same beer point is located at the point of contact of the world. That is, if I do with the origin is immediately ometer. It will turn out to be some kind of not very good thing, and in order to make the letter O back, we select some face on the side on which we want to make the world, Shift TS, cursor to select and then exit the editing mode of the PCM with the origin to 3D cursor. The origin appears in place of this 3D cursor, and after that everything is fixed. Also, do not forget about clipping. This is necessary so that right here, when we apply the vertex modifier, we could be born and we were deprived of double geometry, and double geometry will cause great modeling difficulties in the future. So just don't forget about this tick clipping. Now also a common phenomenon with the world. That is, when you overlay the world and don't understand why we have a little bit of shading here, how bad it would be for him. What's wrong with him, and why everything is fine with this side, the shading did not float. This whole thing may be in the polygon at the junction. Also, I can apply that is, all the modifiers and this defect becomes more visible. It's all because of the polygon at the junction. If you look at the grids in grid mode, you can see that there is some kind of polygon. Here it is inside. There is no such polygon right there, because before I applied the world modifier, I deleted the polygon at the junction here. He stayed right there. And because of this, there are such glitches with shading. This is of course a simple figure and there is little noticeable about it. Well, that is, if you look at it at an angle like this, but it's still very noticeable. And there are situations when it is very clearly visible. And it may be just the same here in this polygon, which remained at the junction. Now I'm going to apply it, it gets worse and you just take it, here it is, it has already been allocated to me. X and the removal of facies. That's it. Shading obeyed, the figure is beautiful. Now I want to talk about scale and how important it is. We have 2 absolutely identical cubes, but they are not cubes, they are rectangles. Imagine that this is a blank for a chest and you need to make a chamfer for it. Select the first chest, go into edit mode, select a chamfer, select a major, make a chamfer. Let's say that such a chamfer is enough for me. Everything is a beautiful chamfer, I like it. Now we move on to the second cube. We also choose an age and make a biva. But something is clearly wrong with this devil. That is, I can stretch, say, up to half on this side, here, as it were, up to half. There is no such thing here. What's the problem? We go into the vein panel and see that this cube has 3 scales, and this one has 1. It is because of this that we have such jokes. That is, for the program, for the Blender, this cube looks like this. This is how the chamfer looks great, but we have a cube like this. In order for the chamfer to be applied normally, you need to click on the keyboard shortcut Ctrl-A and then select the scale. That's it, the scale has been applied to us and now we will have a great good vol. Such as we want. Also, this scale can affect various situations in general. That is, if something is not being done the way you intended, then most likely the scale is to blame for this. So always check. In principle, you can simply allocate everything, Control, Scale. Or, let's say, the second example, also common with a scale, if we want to get volume. Here we have a plane, yes, we bend it there somehow, and we make it voluminous. But we want to see such a volume, that is, roughly speaking, it continues here like this. This part didn't have. And we have a second, exactly the same piece of plane, but here the scale has already been applied. And this is exactly the kind of volume I want to see. This is the joke of the scale, that if it is not used, even if it is done here, well, it needs to be settled a little bit. That's it, we got the volume we wanted. It's all about the scale. This is an important thing, that is, we should not forget to change it now. And yes, if you have such an unevenness, if you make it bigger, then it will already be very visible, then you just need to turn on this tick and then you will have a right angle of 90 degrees. And now we turn to the most favorite, the most common mistake among beginners, and not only beginners. Now you will see what the problem will be. We have 2 absolutely identical cubes with exactly the same modifiers. What should happen to a cube that is ordinary and we will throw a subdiv on it? But it will turn into a circle, yes, which is what happens with this wonderful cube. It turns into a circle and that's it. But what will become of this cube? The misunderstanding, yes, happened. What is it? It should work out, it should turn out to be a circle. I didn't do anything with this cube, that is, you can make another cube, push it up somewhere and throw a subdiv. It turns out exactly the same sphere as here. Now let's get to the most interesting part. We click on the Edit Mode tab. The same thing. It's the same here. What could be the problem then? And the problem may be in such a thing. Oh, and we have a double geometry here. How to fix it? First of all, you always, well, almost always, need to turn on the auto merge. It is located right here on the right above this here. I do not know what it is called. That's where he is. Just click and now if we have any double geometry, he will stitch it himself. Here I show you clearly, hop, it sewed. But we're not going to look for all these vertexes right now, shout Opa right here, but here it is not. We allocate everything to a English and then M and here there is a wonderful button like by distance. Both 2 vertexes have been removed. If nothing is removed, we can twist this slider a little bit, but make sure that it doesn't collapse like this, because if geometry is standing nearby, being, let's say, right here, yes, then it can just grab it for a sweet soul. Do you need geometry? Let's say you want to make a cylinder like this. So watch your geometry so that it is without double vertices, otherwise it will be very ugly. Also, I generally advise you to make a blank, that is, not an initial blender, that's which looks like this, is always a cube, and here there are no folders. I advise you to make such folders, put the auto merge on right away and save this file so that when you open the Blender, you make a new file so that you immediately have the settings as you need, and not create folders like this. Create a folder, name it. And here I will have blah blah blah. No. It is better to create several daddies at once, which you will use. Enable auto merge, enable, for example, the vertex selection mode, and that's it. And then don't waste time setting up this file every time you start a new project. This concludes the 5 tips for beginners. In the description you can find my Telegram channel, there is a lot of information there. You can also chat with me, well, or write in the comments on YouTube. The second part will be released about a week, maybe in a week, but within 2 weeks the video will be on the channel, since it has already been recorded, edited, rendered, and so on. Well, thank you all for watching the video to the end. And once again, Smith was with you. See you in the next video.